Hello, Laura Donnelly here from The Healing Path, and I'm excited to be here today to share with you some more ways of healing, some more ways you can support other people you know who are healing. And one of the main underlying beliefs in the practices that I do is that all healing starts with self-healing. And when that happens, we are able to be more at ease in ourselves, more present, and then share that presence with other people. And I think that there is something very special that happens when we are authentically present with another person. And so this series, The Healing Path, is one that I do with friends and colleagues who are working in different areas of the healing field. There's so many ways that healing happens. And my guest today is Susan Gee, and she will tell you a little bit about herself. I'll bring her on to the broadcast now. Good morning, Susan.
Hi, Laura.
So good to see you. And I'm
good to see you.
I'm so glad you can share excuse me, your gentle touch massage ideas and practice with people.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here with you. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I worked full-time in corporate America for many, many years, and I started having grandchildren. And at that time, I wanted to slow life down a little bit. And I loved receiving massage, so I thought, well, why not give massage? So still working full-time, I went to school in the evenings. And while I was in massage school, my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And I was the primary person who took her to chemo every other Thursday, and finally got the nerve to ask her oncologist if I could provide massage for her. And he's like, oh, sure you can. And my fear at that point was making her worse. But I proceeded and massaged her hands and feet while she received chemotherapy. And it not only helped her relax, but it increased our bond. You know, that whole communication without words.
Right.
That's what happened with us. And it was a very stressful and difficult time, of course, because she was so ill, but it also helped us bond better. And from that experience led me into additional training with oncology massage, which led me into additional work with those with advanced illness and ultimately at the end of life. So I have been working with that population for many years. And what I've learned is that the presence, like you mentioned earlier, is so important. And I feel like I communicate through my hands. Sometimes words are not even needed. And so I sort of look at what I do as a holistic approach to non-medical comfort care through gentle touch massage. So that's kind of basically where I am and what I do.
I love that, though. Non-medical comfort care.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I think that I have experienced specifically in my own healing journeys is that when my body is relaxed, not tense, everything, all the systems work better. The breathing works better, the blood flow works better, the lymphatic system works better. And I also think when you're doing like a traditional medical thing, like chemotherapy, which my mom went through that, and it is really challenging.
It is.
Body to the mind, and if we can take care of the body in a gentle way, then that medical process is able to work better, more quickly. It doesn't have to push through the tight muscles or anything. It doesn't mean we feel great all the time. It just means that we don't put up roadblocks to that healing process that's happening.
True. And, I'm now teaching others this gentle touch massage, caregivers, family members, massage therapists, other professionals. And the framework that I teach is shorter, slower, and softer. And I think it allows just exactly what you said. It allows the body to accept what you're offering through this gentle touch. And shorter refers to a shorter session duration. When someone is ill, we need to shorten the session. So, we typically think of a 60-minute massage. That's kind of what the standard is in our industry. But with someone who is ill or going through treatment, like you mentioned, we've got to shorten those sessions. And then slower, everything we do on the body, strokes on the body, as well as off the body, need to be slower. And when I'm with someone, I tend to lower my voice. I become quieter. And that reminds me that everything I'm doing within the space needs to be slower, so that it helps me remember it. And then softer refers to the pressure that we're using on the body. When someone is ill, our body's fighting hard to get back to normal homeostasis. And a heavy-handed massage can put more demand on the body, which can make us feel worse. So pressure is real important also for a safe massage. Yeah.
And I was thinking about my mom. She was really tiny, right? And all of her life, she 5'2" or slightly shorter, and thin. So she didn't have a lot of muscle mass. And this is something that happens when people get older too.
Yes.
They have a lot of muscle mass. And so what is needed to remind a muscle to soften or relax isn't what you need, say, when you're 28 and a performing athlete, and your muscles are strong and they're carrying a lot of lactic acid. And
yes.
And so it makes so much sense, but it's the kind of thing that we can forget. And I think also for caregivers, because they are often pressured, like especially family caregivers.
Absolutely.
They can say, okay, well, it's time to get up now. And you just like grab somebody and help them sit up, when in reality, if you put your hands out and let them take your hands, that's a piece of communication.
Yes.
that we sometimes skip over in the need to get the person up and into their chair and over to the breakfast table, and then I got to get the kids off to school or whatever else is happening. It's so easy. But what you're talking about is, to me, sounds like staying present with ourselves in relationship to the person we're helping.
Yes, indeed. And, I think about a few tips that I might give to those caregivers and family members that, like you just said, instead of rushing through that movement, doing it in a kinder, gentler way is the way I put it. And just being mindful that you're going to do it that way. And another thing that I think helps stress and anxiety with a person that a caregiver can provide relief for is a simple hold of the hand or a simple hold of the feet. If somebody's going through a medical procedure, or they're just having a really stressful day because of what's going on in their body, if you will deliberately, this has to be I'm going to deliberately do this. I'm going to think through, my mindset's going to be where it needs to be. I'm going to spend 5 minutes with this person. I'm going to intentionally be there for this person. And pull a chair up beside wherever they are. If they're in the bed, on the couch, in a recliner, pull a chair up beside them and ask if you could hold their hand. I just want to hold your hand. I think it might help calm you. It's going to help calm me. Can I just hold your hand for a few minutes? And then take one of your hands and place it under their hand and the other on top, gently resting, focusing on what you're doing. And after 2 or 3 minutes, move your chair around to the other side and do the same thing. So the goal here is to be sure that you're comfortable so that your hands are relaxed, your body's relaxed. and that will allow them to relax and just see what happens. See if maybe their breathing slows. Maybe you get a deep sigh from them, and see what sort of reaction you get. If the hands aren't available, you could even just place your hands on the feet, even over linens is effective in this same manner. So that's a way to provide some simple relaxation and comfort with just some simple techniques. And I've done it. I know it works.
Right. Well, and I would think that, I mean, this sounds like something that would work if somebody's awake and verbal,
Yes.
but also if they are in a deep sleep state or semi-conscious, or even if somebody is being present with their family member who's in hospice care.
Exactly.
And I have another friend, and her mom had Alzheimer's, dementia, and at the end, she said her mom really couldn't. She got nonverbal, which is what happened, and this is hard for the rest of us.
It is.
We are used to verbal response, but she said she would sit and hold her mom's hand, and she said it was, it's sad. There's a lot that happens for the caregiver.
Yes.
And so it sounds to me like this process is also caring for the caregiver in the act of caring for the person they're taking care of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you can find that place of joy that comes with being with your person. And I know the caregiving role is so difficult. I mean, the physical needs and the demands often take over and take, priority over these soft, gentle moments. But if you can devote the time and find the time for this joy that happens when you can communicate with your loved one through this simple, gentle touch, it's really amazing.
Yes, I can see how it would be. So how did you talked about your sister and all, and so it sounds like that just even as you were completing your training for massage therapy, that you were already feeling, for want of a better word, called to this area of working with people who were in serious need of gentle touch.
I didn't always have this calmness about my work. Part of my training was in a hospital on the bone marrow transplant floor.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, I was scared to death. Honestly, I was so fearful of hurting the people that I was touching. And I think that's part of why I'm teaching what I teach, is because there has to be some skill there. And I think with that skill, you gain confidence. And that allowed me then to be more present with the people. That once I obtained that confidence in my skill, then I was able to relax and realize that the presence, actually being there, deliberately being with someone, is far more important than the skill. And so it took me a while to gain that confidence in my skill, to realize that it's not all about the skill. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, we're laughing because it's funny.
Yeah.
But it's in a bizarre way, it's the same as with dancing. You spend hours and hours and hours in the studio perfecting these skills. And in the moment of the performance, what is important is how your heart touches the heart of the people in the audience watching.
So true.
And it can touch it with an arabesque that's just 45 degrees, not tall at all, and it can touch it with one that's way up high, and suddenly you're like, oh, I was paying attention to the wrong thing.
That's exactly what it is. It's a very good description because it's exactly what I've learned is that it's more about being, and I know I keep saying being, but it's about presence and deliberately and intentionally, mindfully being with someone.
So is there something, and from my personal experience, I can get into that present state and then something can throw me out
Yeah.
really easily. Like the doorbell can ring,
Yeah.
an alarm can go off. I can have left water boiling on the stove and the tea kettle is
Yep.
whistling, you know. So the ability to come back
Yeah.
to, do you, do you
Yeah.
have some ideas? I know you also, I want to give some time for you to talk about the class you have for
Well,
people who are not professional massage therapists,
yes.
but who want to be more mindful in their care of the people that they care for.
I have a story that I'll tell you. I used to live in Dallas, and when I was in Dallas, I was doing massage therapy for a hospice agency, and I was in the field. So I was going from home to home, care facility to care facility. And what I learned is that from doorstep to doorstep, I was in this craziness of Dallas traffic.
Oh,
And I had to learn how to, before I rang the next doorbell, kind of rid myself of that frustration and stress and all so that I could be calm and present for this next person. And so I really started this practice of being the calm one in the room. And it's funny because it took me a long time. And just like you said, something distracts you, pulls you away from that calmness. But I've taught myself how to kind of stay there when I need to stay there. And I had a good friend who came to see me. We went to church together, did lots of stuff together. She developed cancer, came to my studio regularly for massage. She got to the point where she could no longer come, so I went to her home. And she was now in the hospital. Her daughter called and asked if I would come to the hospital. And I said, of course I will. So Judy was her name. And when I arrived at the hospital, the elevator doors opened up into like a waiting area. And there were all kinds of people I knew. Our pastor was there and various people were there. And the daughter runs over to me, gives me a hug, and through tears tells me her mom has decided to do a surgery that nobody thinks she will live through. And it's only 3 or 4 hours down the road. So they're going back just a few at a time to see Judy, and it becomes my turn to see her. So I go in to see her. She's thrilled to see me. I wash my hands. I sit down on the side of the bed, and I begin massaging her feet. And what's happening around me is people are coming through and telling her goodbye.
right.
Because they think that this is the last time they're going to see her. And it was the ultimate be the calm one in the room scenario that I had to literally just keep myself calm. And I don't have a magic bullet to tell you how I do that, but it's a very conscious effort. And I think with practice, you're able to pull yourself back into that moment. But then it became my turn to tell Judy goodbye. And I also thought this was going to be the last time I would see her. And so it was difficult. And I mean, I did. I remained calm the whole time and got outside the room. The good news is Judy survived the surgery, went on to live for many more months. But that story is the be the calm one in the room ultimate for me. So I don't know if that helped you at all, if that answered your question.
Well, what I say to people is it's natural to notice what's happening around you. It's natural in your situation you're in, where so many people are coming in with so much emotion, and the person's emotion.
Yes.
Right? Because they have the same emotion. If these people are, I mean, they know if somebody's coming to say goodbye to them and they're like, damn it, I'm going to get well, so quit this,
Yes.
Or
Yes.
they're they're like, well, yes, this might happen, and this is what's important to you about, important to me about you and our life, our knowledge of each other. And but this decision, for me, it's a decision to come back to calm, because I think about the body
Yes.
as a pulsing thing. The breath goes in and out, the blood goes out of the heart and comes back to the heart. Even the whatever craniosacral fluid goes out and comes back. So everything pulses. So why wouldn't my ability to be calm pulse?
Oh, that's great, Laura. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm calm. I'm not calm, but I come right back to calm.
Yes. Yes.
And then I think, and the more you do it, like you said, to
Yeah.
you have the intention to hold a space for calmness in the room. Every time you come back, this reminds everybody else they can come back.
Yeah.
And so I think this is really really powerful. And I think the nonverbal nature of touch is so important.
Yes. Communication at a deeper level, for sure. And oftentimes words are not needed. The touch is just so powerful. And I find it also, like you said, calms those in the room. Not only the person you're touching, but maybe the caregiver is nearby. It also tends to calm them as well.
Which is really, really helpful.
Yes.
And then this fact that the communication is two-way. So maybe the person is no longer able to be verbal. And my friend who was taking care of her mother, and her mother had dementia, and she'd been months where she was not verbal. But when they would hold hands, her mom would smile.
Yes.
And then this other thing she said, it's perfect, but it's not perfect, but there are moments of joy.
Nonverbal cues. Yes. I had back in Dallas when I was doing this hospice work, I went to a memory care facility each week. And I had a lady who was very tiny and frail. She was in a wheelchair or in her bed when I arrived most times. And because she was nonverbal, she would reach her hands to me.
Oh.
And then as I massaged her hands, she would massage mine. So those nonverbal cues are just phenomenal.
I think it's really important. I think once we become verbal in our growing up time, and especially if we have some success with verbal communication, I'm not that good at it.
Oh, I think you are.
I didn't ever, I had a friend once, and I was doing a journal writing workshop, and I'm filling pages and pages with my ideas and words and everything. And at one class, I said, well, I'm just not verbal. And she just busted out laughing. And so I had to rethink that. But I do the first level of communication on an emotional body level place. And then I find some words that work.
Yeah.
But then, because it was originally as a child harder for me to find the right words, once I got words, I was really locked.
Excuse me.
That's okay. Really locked into them. And so then when I was helping my husband take care of his mother who had dementia, and she was losing words, I'm like, okay, what can we do instead? And sometimes we just sat in the back by the swimming pool, looking at the orange tree blooming and the birds, and held hands. And he said, she doesn't know your name. I said, but she knows me. I said, when I show up, she says, there you are. And I say, well, here I am.
And she knows the comfort you're providing.
And so I think another thing that touch can do for the caregiver is to allow them to step back. I was trying to figure this out about the nonverbal thing. Words try to define things. And touch for me kind of just lets things be.
Mm-hmm.
And at a place in healing, like I might have an idea what somebody needs to do, but their body knows better what they need to do. And I say, well, you need to drink more water, or you need to have some vitamins, or you need blah, 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 blah. That's like pushing on them. But if I just hold their hand, or I just sit in presence beside them, then they might say, I would really like some water with some lemon juice in it or something, and then I can do what they really need to do. And they had a space for what they needed to come up.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
So if some of the people that watch this video that are in a space of caring for someone else, if they, I know you teach care, I know you teach massage therapists how to add this type of very gentle touch to their practice. But for a person not trained in massage therapy,
Mm-hmm.
you also have some, like we talked about the hand holding, that was very nice. But you have a class, don't you, that people can take if they want to?
I do. And the class developed from situations I was in, providing massage for someone who is ill, and the caregiver kind of standing in the background, very, very interested in what I was doing. And I finally learned to invite them to come in. And for example, I would massage one foot and they would massage the other. And we would work in sync until they felt confident in doing what they were doing. And then, what joy it was to know that after I'm gone, this caregiver can provide this gentle touch and provide comfort, rest, relaxation for their loved one anytime it's needed. So that's kind of how this all started for me. And I do have a 3-hour course teaching caregivers how to provide this gentle touch. And I do it with that framework I mentioned: shorter, softer, slower. And it's actually teaching them 3 simple massage strokes. And I say simple because they are very simple. And it can be done. What I try to tell people is they'll find their own pace and rhythm for the work. And so I'm going to show them how I do things. There's videos of these strokes, and there's time to practice on your leg and all of that. But then, you have the ability then to move on and make it your own.
Right. Because that, I love that. I love that. Because the real healing happens like maybe you think you want to start with somebody's hand, and you might be there a minute and realize you need to be at their feet.
Yes.
And if you are present,
Mm-hmm.
you will get that impulse.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, to have the confidence in the presence to know that even though you didn't do all of the gentle strokes that you had learned for the hand, is fine to do whatever you did. And
exactly. And there's also teaching on propping and bolstering your person using stuff you already have in your home: blankets, pillows, towels, getting them as comfortable as you can in a bed, in a recliner, and then how to provide the massage wherever they are, in a wheelchair, wherever they are. Massage table is not needed. So yeah, it's teaching you how to do the strokes, make your loved one comfortable, but also this whole presence thing, this communication without words, is also looked at within the course.
That sounds beautiful, Susan.
Oh, I love it. It's such good work. It makes a difference in the lives of others, a big difference. And it's very impactful and meaningful work.
I'm so glad that you had the time to share a little bit about that. In the description of the video, there are links for people to connect with you, to get more information, and to find out if something is beneficial or helpful for them, or even I have some people in Arkansas, I think, who watch, who, you're in the area that, they might have a family member who
Exactly.
watch. So take good care, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Laura. It was so good to visit with you. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.